Just a couple of hours ago, media here in Russia reported that Putin and Israeli Prime Minister, Russian President Putin and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu had their phone conversation. They discussed Trump's Gaza plan, talked stabilizing Syria, and negotiated a solution to Iran's nuclear program. Netanyahu wished Putin on the eve of his birthday. In reality, we're not going to know what they actually talked about. And it is unfortunate, by the way, that Russian president still maintains, seems like, good relationships with Netanyahu. I don't like this whatsoever, man. Netanyahu is a mass murderer and a war criminal. And it is a shame that Russian president wasted time talking to this garbage, right? But it is what it is, man. As I said, man, elites do live in very different world, right? Everywhere, all over the world. And if we are lucky, those elites might think about public interests, right? Because that allows them to stay in power, right? If public is happy, then, they are in power. They're staying in power. But there are more and more cases when those elites just simply have no care, man, about public. Especially this is the case in the Western world right now. To continue, dear friends on the Middle East, there were negotiations, as I announced in today's first update. Negotiations between Israel and Hamas are underway in Sharm el-Sheikh, mediated by, this is Egypt, by the way. This Sharm el-Sheikh is a resort in Egypt, and these negotiations are negotiated by Cairo and Washington. Steve Witkoff, special representative of U.S. president, is also participating in these talks. If the negotiations are successful, 20 Israeli hostages will be released, and the bodies of their dead hostages will be handed over later. At the same time, Israel is reportedly committing to release an unspecified number of Palestinian hostages held without a trial in Israeli jails. Also, I mentioned in today's first update that Hamas agrees to disarm, according to Al Arabiya. Hamas is willing to hand over weapons to Palestinian Egyptian Authority under their international supervision. But this to happen, of course, these negotiations based on Trump's 20-point de-escalation plan have to be successful. But question is how honest Trump was and the U.S. administration or Israeli regime while announcing this 20-point plan of de-escalation and agreeing on that. Me personally, I'm skeptical that they were genuine. I don't think they were genuine, and this is some sort of deception operation on part of Washington and Tel Aviv, on part of U.S. and Israel. I have no doubts about it. Something dodgy is going on there, because neither Washington, neither Israeli regime ever demonstrated before that they have any care about peace or stability, or they want to save lives of the people. So I don't think they changed overnight, right? People don't change like that. So therefore, something dodgy is hiding behind this 20-point plan that U.S. initiated, announced, and we can speculate what that can be. I don't know, but possibly Washington wants to divert public's attention and prepare ground for attack on Iran, because I think that's what is going on. Washington wants to attack Iran, by the way. Now, something will happen. Israeli Secret Services, or maybe together with their U.S. Secret Services, will orchestrate some terrorist attack, right? They will blame that on Hamas. they might even use their assets that they have inside the Hamas, right? So that this false flag operation will look as realistic as it can get, right? And I don't think anybody has any doubts that Israeli secret services do have to nowadays assets inside the Hamas, right? And after all, we should keep in mind that it was Israel that helped Hamas to defeat Fatah, right? When they had an infight. And so I think Israel will orchestrate terrorist attack or something like that to derail this peace process. Then Israel will begin further, military operations again. Israel will reignite military operations. US will get engaged too, right? And there may be, under the pretext of targeting Hamas, US will move into a region, great number of military assets, right? And process is potentially underway, and eventually they will use these assets on the first phase, on first stage, maybe to target Hamas, yes, or Gaza Strip. But then they will switch to Iran. That's what is going to happen. Once they will build up enough force, they will switch to Iran, and they will have enough force in the place to carry out relatively longer lasting offensive operations, airstrikes, and so on, right? I think that's what is happening, and maybe that's why this report was circulating on internet in past 24 to 48 hours that USS Gerald Ford of US Navy has arrived in the Western Mediterranean. And probably now this vessel, this strike group, aircraft strike group, is moving towards Eastern Mediterranean, right? And soon will be somewhere in not far away from Gaza Strip, on a range when planes, for example, from this aircraft carrier can target Gaza Strip, and if necessary, with refueling, with aerial refueling, even reach Iran. And on this matter, dear friends, in previous days, I did reported that dozens of refueling tankers, aerial tankers, have been moved to Middle East by US. Why? Dozens of refueling tankers, aerial refueling tankers, and there are also fighter jets, fighter bombers. Question is why? What for? I think that's what is going on, man. This 20-point plan, so-called peace plan in regards to Gaza Strip, is a deception operation. I'm quite sure about it. And in reality, US and Israel and their allies are preparing to strike Iran. That's what's going on, I think. And by the way, Trump himself is actually hinting on attacks on Iran, about possible attacks on Iran. And he said during his speech before sailors, US sailors, that, and this is quote, "We are not going to wait so longer to hit Iran again." And he was talking about situation if Iran will resume producing nuclear weapons. Trump claimed during the same speech that Iran was months away to build a nuclear weapon, and basically this kind of statements from Trump clearly is a justification, sort of the criminal actions that US gonna take against Iran, because no independent sources ever claimed that Iran actually was building nuclear weapons, or Iran was months away to build a nuclear weapon. Non-trustworthy, respected, or independent source ever said that. And this claim of Trump that Iran was a months away to build nuclear weapons is a total BS, right? And but making such statements gives him opportunity to, at one point, said that, well, Iran is building nuclear weapons again, and therefore we have to go ahead and strike. And who's going to reject, right? Does Washington listen to anybody? No. And unfortunately, public in US also is quite reluctant to challenge their own elites. So therefore, at this point, clearly White House, Pentagon, they are CIA or Langley, they clearly are behaving any ways they want, right? Like criminal gangs, actually. US leadership, US state institutions no longer acting as a state institutions. They are acting as some sort of a criminal gang. And majority of our community probably will agree with me on that. I mean, I believe I even have a video of his statements, dear friends. Let me check. I do. So let me share with you, dear friends, this this video. It will only take like a minute. In case you have not have seen this short clip, let's see what Trump had to say there.
And we shot 30 Tomahawks, you know that. On top of, after the B-2, how about that? The B-2s, what they did, those beautiful flying wings, what they did, they hit every single target they hit. And just in case, we shot 30 Tomahawks out of a submarine. Every one of them hit too. So I would say Iran was not particularly thrilled. They were going to have a nuclear weapon within a month. And now they can start the operation all over again, but I hope they don't, because we'll have to take care of that too if they do. I let them know that you want to do that, it's fine. But
you see, he's already speculating that, well, now they're going to do it again and we will strike. You see, that's how they operate, by the way. They are creating false narratives and then acting on these false narratives that they just created. That's what they do time and again, right? And unfortunately, Western societies that should keep their elites in check are doing nothing about it, which is, I mean, in majority of the Western societies, that is, right? Which is very unfortunate, man. It should not be this way, but it is. Oh, let's continue.
that, and we're not going to wait so long. It should have been done long before I came along. You know that I had the pilots of the B-2s in my office, the famous Oval Office. I had them in the B-2s. They came in to the White House, and we talked about it. They said, you know, sir, for 22 years, our predecessors and us trained for that hit. For 22 years, they were training to take out the nuclear potential of Iran. He said, but it was only when you came along that we did it. And they were so happy that they did it. But they've been training for that hit for 22 years.
So you see, dear friends, I mean, it's quite clear, isn't it? Trump himself personally is engaged in creating all these false narratives. He's personally engaged in deception operations, right? And he's already hinting that, well, we destroyed, they were once away to build nukes, but they are going to launch this program again. And, well, they can do it, but we're going to strike then again, and we're not going to wait. They are creating false narrative, and they're acting then on these false narratives. That's what is happening when it comes to Western so-called elites, man. And that's why I'm saying this 20-point plan, so-called peace plan in regards to Gaza Strip, is not really about bringing peace to Palestinian people, but it's about deception. And in reality, US, Israel, and their allies are preparing for potentially unprecedented scale of escalation in the Middle East that will begin with the strikes on Iran. That's what is going on, I think. But Iran is not alone. Iran is not alone, and I guess many countries worldwide do understand that it's only a matter of time when globalists, neocons, and the Zionists will make next move in the Middle East against Iran and to basically provoke a regional war. I have spoke about it many times before, why they would want a regional war. And to say it in few words, globalists and neocons want regional war to shut down navigation in the Persian Gulf, right, to cut off China and the global South from energy sources, from Middle Eastern energy sources, dear friends, and they want it, and this is Persian Gulf, right? They want to shut down navigation here while provoking regional war on the sectarian and religious lines here. They want to cut off a global South, including China, from Middle Eastern energy sources, and their goal is to force China to increase its dependence on Russian energy supplies towards the critical level, right? Because I'm quite sure globalists and neocons are thinking that if they will succeed in this, they will provoke then confrontation between China and Russia, one way or another, but they probably are quite sure that they will manage to do it, right? And this way they will neutralize their two main opponents on a geopolitical scale. That's what their hope is. And that's why they don't care, by the way. For them, this goal is much more important than anything else, right? To get rid of two most capable opponents on geopolitical scale. So therefore, they will sacrifice everything and everybody for this goal, right? And that's why argument that, well, if they will shut down navigation in the Persian Gulf, then oil prices will skyrocket and it will hurt Western economies too. That's why this argument is not working, because they just don't care. For them, for globalists and the neocons, this goal to get rid of China and Russia is a primary goal, right? Nothing is close. And that's why they will continue to operate this way until they're not being put in their place, basically. And I think leadership of Russia and China do understand what is the game plan of the globalists and the neocons, right? I think both countries, leadership of both countries, Russia and China, understands this. And some countermeasures being taken, right? To make sure that globalists and neocons and Zionists and their assets not going to succeed in destabilizing the Middle East, right? And for example, Russia and China are assisting Iran militarily, right? Russia and China are using their diplomatic means to make sure, and their diplomatic connections with their regional countries, not just with Iran, but with the regional countries. That is Saudi Arabia, UAE, Oman, Qatar, Bahrain, all of them, to make sure that globalists and neocons not gonna provoke conflict between them and Iran, right? And at the same time, by the way, Russia and China are delivering significant volumes of weapon systems to Iran. And on this very topic, we have this report that third Russian AN-124 flight is taking place from Irkutsk, or took place already from Irkutsk to Iran in just over a week. And this is just one AN-124s, by the way. And there are reports about or IL-76s also flying from Russia and their Central Asian republics to Iran, right, with their unknown cargo. But when it comes to AN-124s, by the way, this is a third Russian Air Force AN-124 transport aircraft that has departed from Irkutsk on a route towards the Iran. And Irkutsk is, of course, home to aviation plant. And even though exact nature of cargo remains undisclosed, it is known that and Iranian observers are suggesting that flights may be linked to deliveries of Su-30 Mk fighter jets that you see right now on your screens, dear friends. Mk-30s, or Su-30s, by the way, Su-30 fighter jets clearly prove themselves to be capable planes. They are in high demand worldwide, right? These Russian planes. India has hundreds of them in its air force, about 200 planes, for example. I'm not sure even Russia has 200 of Su-30s, by the way, but India does. And India was producing those planes under their Russian license. soon may become producing Su-57s, but that's a whole different story. When it comes to Iran, by the way, and as I said, actions of the Moscow and Beijing, clearly both capitals are doing whatever they can to make sure that the Middle East gonna stay as stable as possible. Of course, Moscow and Beijing cannot do everything, obviously, right? But in areas where Moscow and Beijing, Russia and China can be successful, both countries are very much proactive, and we don't know, by the way. Maybe during today's conversation with Netanyahu, Russian president warned him not to escalate with Iran. Maybe Russian president warned him not to escalate with Iran, and probably he did. But right. So that's what is going on in regards to Middle East, and Iran is getting more and more weapons, man. All sorts of weapons from friendly nations, right, and strategical partners. Russia and Iran are strategical partners, by the way, and hopefully, both countries, Russia and China, will manage, together with the other allies, by the way. India also tremendously interested in the peace and stability in the Middle East, right? And all over the world. Other countries, hopefully, BRICS member states, Shanghai Cooperation Organization member states will manage to avoid regional war in the Middle East and the total destabilization. Hopefully. Let's see. This is struggle, by the way, between globalists, Zionists, between collective West, basically, and the rest of the world, because collective West wants regional war in the Middle East, the rest of the world don't. So let's see how things gonna go down. Hopefully, globalists and neocons and Zionists will fail. Hopefully, they will fail. Hello everyone, I hope you find informative and useful this short clip from main news update, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. It might help to deal with the algorithm and reach wider audience. And if you like my work in general and want to support to save this media project, you can assist through several ways. You can donate to this project through PayPal platform or Boosty, also with the crypto currencies, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page and page on Boosty, where I have quite a lot of extra content on regular basis. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, many thanks to everyone who already helped and continues to support. Thank you.